There we are. Hey guys, welcome to the Gavin Syme Show. I am yours truly, Gavin Syme. I'll just let you guys pop in there, wait for you to, get sorted. Do what it is you do. Let me know if we got mic, because I'm wired, which is cool. So we should have good audio. I'm actually gonna, if I'm looking off to the side tonight, I will, it's because I'm looking at the chat, because I put the chat up over here so that I can kind of glance over and look at it. And howdy y'all, good to see you. Peace to everybody. And yeah, great to see you. Leo, Judo, Resist Government, all you guys, Christopher, Jules, QLD Cop Watch, shout out to our activists, cop watchers, and all you good stuff. Hopefully we'll have some people popping in here. Anthony, hola Mexico, a mi amigos and mi compadres en Mexico. Disfruta tu libertad y a ser fiel a la libertad. Resistan la tirana. Okay? Buenas noches, everybody. It's getting a little late. I just thought I'd do a live stream. Hadn't done one. I made a post last night on the channel page, as well as on my Facebook and stuff. Most of my posts are on my Facebook page, my personal profile, facebook.com/Gavin Syme. And we had some discussion there because I had a little encounter last night. I thought we'd talk about that. It kind of made me think because I saw some of the comments there, and I might actually pull some of these comments up and read them. And overall, they were really good comments, but what struck me about some of these comments is I think a little bit of a misinterpretation of how I actually do activism. So I might look at some of those comments. I don't want to keep it too long because I want to spend a little time with my lady tonight before we go to bed. We know that the world's crazy right now. So I think you guys are probably in there. Let's officially start the Gavin Syme Show. Let's talk about the pandemic of tyranny. By the way, how do you guys like my chains? I hope you guys, check these out. Check these babies out. Hope you guys are enjoying your chains as the coronavirus fear spreads. But check these guys out. Did a little hand work on these. These are actually an upgraded model thanks to the stimulus package. These are a nice vintage patina on these chains, which makes them super phenomenal. And thanks, Trump Care, for helping us out with these stimulus chains, because otherwise it would have sucked, right? It would suck to have plain old chains, right? I mean, you gotta have some bling on your chains. So I hope you guys are enjoying your chains. I hope the stimulus package is giving you the chains that you want. And yeah, I hope you're taking seriously the fact that you're now in chains, that the pandemic was not a virus at all, and that the problem was never coronavirus. That was really not that, well, actually it was much less than the seasonal flu thus far, and it's probably going to stay that way. But absolutely, the chains really rocked on this virus. You guys have a lot of them all over the world, don't get me wrong. They're trying a little bit of that BS down here in Mexico. It won't work as well, I can tell you that, and it's not as pushy. They're not like arresting people for, opening their business, but there's a little nonsense, fear-mongering and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, I got a couple. I got like 5 layers of chains. I hear some people, like in the US, you guys have more chains, which is cool, but I hope the stimulus package is going to help you out and get you the chains that you deserve, because you deserve. Do you deserve chains? Probably so. We mostly do deserve chains, because that's the world that we've created. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about activism a little bit. I actually did make these chains today. They're not for this, but I used copper sulfite on raw steel, which makes it this phenomenal patina, coppery looking surface. And while I thought the metaphor was kind of interesting, because the chains are getting deeper. Now, a person that is free in his mind, a person that knows Jesus, a person that loves his neighbor, that's the person that's really free from their chains, because government is always going to be there. And this is what I've learned as an activist, you're always going to have government, and they're always going to suck, or mostly suck. Now, don't get me wrong, we can oppose the government corruption, but a lot of people's life mission is like, oh, we have to end all government, but it'll never happen, because usually the people that want to end government, if they actually end government, they become government. That seems to be how it works, because people will always create some kind of government, right? Even if it's a local community defense that starts out perfectly pure and good, eventually it grows into some form of government. It's just human nature. So I'm just kind of watching your comments over here while I chat, but it's crazy. It's crazy. And people that pretend to love freedom, that are cheering government in the US creating $7 trillion. How do you like this, right? Don't get me wrong. The government's been robbing us blind and stealing our money, and most of us have been paying in those taxes for years, right? And so if you want to take back your $1,200 that was stolen from you, whatever. I mean, like, it's your money. They just stole it from you at the point of a gun. It's not really going to help. But here's the kicker. What I love about this whole stimulus package, the socialist package, because that's really what it is. Even though they stole the money from us originally, what they're saying is now we're going to redistribute a little bit to everybody. But the funny thing is they don't even have it to redistribute. They're just going to make it up. They're just going to make it up. And the best part is they're going to give you all a little teeny piece of money that's not that significant in terms of cost of living in the USA, and certainly won't save people as their businesses and economies are collapsing, because the government's forcing the economy to halt. But what's amazing, what is so deserving about the politicians, the police, and the fascism that we tolerate, what's so appropriate, is that the people that we're cheering, that are saving us from coronavirus, that are creating stimuluses to keep the economy alive, they're giving $1,200 or $1,000 or whatever to every adult American citizen, I guess. And then they're giving so that amounts to 1.5 trillion. But remember, the total bill, the stimulus, is $7 trillion. The other 5.5 trillion-ish dollars, trillion with a T, okay? The other of that is going to their buddies, to their cronies. And that is the absolute beauty. The national debt is, let me see if I got these numbers, it's 23 billion. So somebody figure out that percentage, 23, 10% will be 2.3. So we just increased the national debt by about 25% in one freaking day. Now, how do you think that is going to affect? How do you think that is going to affect the value of the dollar, the economy? You think is that a stimulus? Now, of course, they're just going to make this up. They're going to take it back from you. But wow, 25% increase. So we railed on Obama for wasting all this money, right? For being a socialist, for violating the Constitution and gun rights. And what's sad, and I did too, don't get me wrong, I wasn't an Obama supporter because it's just another politician. But Trump is more against gun rights. He violates the Constitution vastly more. He does it with far more arrogance and ridiculousness and fascism. And of all the crying about how Obama was destroying us and increasing our national debt, we just increased the national debt by 25% in a single day. But patriots, conservatives, it's okay. We support that because Trump is saving us by giving us $1,200. What are you going to buy with your welfare? America. Now, down here in Mexico, we don't have any of that. We don't really, generally speaking, even have any unemployment. So while there is some closures, I've talked about this, I make photos of what's going on in the streets. We were out enjoying the lake this weekend. We were out visiting with friends. Nothing is closed, at the point of a gun. Certainly some people are closing. There's certain counties where they're pushing people a little bit to close. But really, if someone wants to stay open, they do. In tourist areas, a lot of the businesses and entertainment, water parks, things like that, are not doing well, or they're closing down just because they're so slow, because things are not moving, people aren't spending money, so it sucks. However, we can still move, right? I'm seeing, because this is a kind of a Mexican touristy town up here, not a gringo touristy town. And because there's so much less tourists and way too many police in this particular town, even though lots of towns next door have no police at all, they don't have anything to do. And so I'm seeing more crap checkpoints. You guys may have saw a photo I posted on this channel of basically just a safety checkpoint. And I basically stopped and they told me to leave and I said no. And I spent like 10, 15 minutes just like really hammering them on the Constitution, educating them. They would shine their flashlights in my eyes. You know how US cops do that? That always pissed me off. Now that I have a country where we can actually stand up for ourselves a little bit, if they shine I have a policy where if they shine their light in my eyes, I shine a light right back. So I will get a light, right? If they're being rude and like shining the light in my eyes so I can't see them, heck no. First thing I will do is I'll get a light and shine it like right in their face. And I'll be like, stop shining your light, move your light. Respect. Even if it's someone that I think is not doing well. Now, I'm not saying you could do that in the US. I thought about trying it many times, but that might be considered assaulting an officer or something. No, not in Mexico. So yeah, while the US, if you run the checkpoints like I do here, they will chase you down, they will arrest you, they'll charge you with a looting, and you'll go to jail and all kinds of crap. Mexico still has, I've told you guys, too much militarized police, but at the same time, we still have the right to stand up for our rights, right? Escaping from jail is not a crime in Mexico. It's considered a human right. But ideally avoid jail in the first place is my personal recommendation. I want to do a little bit of theme though, because I saw, thanks guys. I'm seeing your comments. I'm just looking, kind of watching what people are saying. No, 1,200 will not buy you much land in Mexico. I think it's worth noting that contrary to popular belief, while the cost of living is much more, you can get a decent apartment for maybe $100, $150 a month down here. Overall, basic cost of living, right? If you're not living like a tourist, is probably a third to a quarter of what it is in the USA. But if you want to start a farm or buy land or something like that, land, depending on where you go, can be very expensive. They really value their land heritage here. So don't expect to get cheap land. You can rent for pretty cheap in a lot of places. If you plan to buy land, now you can buy a lot with a house on it, right? Or maybe a little pasture for your goats or something like that. You can buy a house here for probably, I don't know, depending on the house, anywhere between $20,000 and $50,000. But if you want land, now it's going to take you some dollars. Some pesos. Bring those pesos down, people. So yeah, I hear that the US is going insane. I'm just watching. I mean, you have state police that are stopping people and checking them, asking them where they're staying when they come into the state. You have New Berlin, right? You guys remember, I don't know, starting about 2 years ago, I started telling you the US is becoming New Berlin, right? This is Nazi Germany. And here we are in 2020. What do you think? Was I on point? You tell me. Like, I'm not here to be like, you're all screwed. I think a window will open. I think if you want to get out, you can. I know that the border is still kind of partially open. And if you want to fly out, there's ways to do it. And if you really want to get out of Mexico, you can message us. Go to my site, callmegav.com. Our email's there. Send me an email. That's how you get an actual response from us. And we watch those emails and we try to help people with info. So if you genuinely are thinking like, I want out of here, we'll try and give you any info we can. Let's see here. So yeah, give me freedom, give me liberty, or give me $1,200 because America and Trump and stuff. 2020, baby. Yeah. Chains. What I wanted to do though is I want to read some of these comments from last night because I posted an image of these cops I was arguing. And this video will probably go live this week. Here's some of the problem with these videos. When I'm arguing with cops here, I'm arguing mostly in Spanish when I actually am having an argument. I'm doing my best Spanish, even though it still sucks, right? But I'm arguing in Spanish. And so what we have is these videos that are a combination of English and Spanish. And for those of you that don't speak Spanish, it kind of leaves some pretty significant gaps, especially as my Spanish gets better. So what happens, I get these videos, I prepare them, I upload them to the channel, but then I have to get captions. Now, on a lot of my videos, I try and do Spanish captions for my Spanish speakers, but those aren't always done right away because most of my audience is English speakers. However, with these mixed language ones, I kind of need to get that English caption done first so you can turn on the captions. And by the way, most of these videos I'm producing where you hear me speaking any significant amount of Spanish, if you turn on captions, there's going to be a translation there for what I am saying and what they are saying to me. But that takes time to do those subtitles. I have a friend in Colombia that I pay to help me out and do it. A lot of what he does, he's a pretty good English speaker, but a lot of what he does is my Spanish subtitles, but I'll have him do both. If anybody is a great Spanish speaker and you want to help out with the English subtitles when they have Spanish, so I can get these videos out sooner, shoot me a message and we can talk about giving you like early access to a video if you're good at Spanish, and you can go through and most of the English subtitle is automatically generated, and then what you got to go through do is clean it up and then add the Spanish part so we can hear what people are saying. So I'm just looking at your comments. Yes, it's great to speak both languages. Wherever you are, whatever you're thinking right now, start learning Spanish because it covers a lot of the world and it's something you should do. Don't wait. If you have to leave, people are like, oh, I need to get out now. What can I do for work? I'm like, well, do you speak Spanish? Because I've been telling you for 2 years. This is what I'm thinking. I've been telling you for 2 years, start learning Spanish. No, I don't speak any Spanish. Can I get a job? I'm like, well, no, probably not. I mean, if you come down here, you have no skills, you can't speak the language. I mean, you could probably start a business, you can sell hamburgers on the side of the road, but don't expect to get a job where people are paying you real money if you have no skills and you can't speak the language. I'm not trying to be harsh with this. Like, we just got to be realistic. Mexico is a nation that operates on functional economics where there's actually trade value to things. It's not a socialist state like the USA where you just get on programs and welfare. So yeah, the world is crazy. The stuff I'm seeing out of the USA is disturbing. It's nuts. I can believe it, but I can't believe it that people are tolerating it. People should be rioting in the streets. People should be tearing down the barriers. People should be opening the parks. People should be absolutely defying this coronavirus hoax, because it's not that there's not a virus and that people aren't getting sick, but there's always a virus. Every year there's new viruses. Every year there's a flu season, and the coronavirus is killing far less than the flu season. Now, will it grow? Will it become a real pandemic? Maybe it'll just level off like every other flu season. But the point is, it doesn't matter, guys. If you're willing to give up your freedom over fear of getting sick, you don't deserve it. It's that simple. So, the fact is, though, they're destroying the economy so bad that it can only last so long, because even the sheep, when they are starving, will turn on their tyrant masters. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate the kind comments. And let's talk though about the main topic of tonight's show, because I'm trying to stay like conversational, chat with you guys, answer questions, but also I'm trying to have a topic of the day. So I'm just looking at this photo. Let me just show you, just in case you didn't see it. Oh man, stupid mic. Hang on. I'm gonna flip this. I posted this photo, and it was an interaction I had, and these cops, Mexican cops like to think that they're gonna intimidate you when you're filming them by pointing a camera back at you, and that somehow they win when they do that. And I'm like, okay, whatever, you can do that. They like shining lights in your eyes like US cops. They probably learned that from our US terrorist cops. But the key thing here, we can shine those lights right back. In fact, I lit up, the Truth van has a major amount of lights, like a major amount, light bars, 360-degree perimeter lighting. So when they start shining lights in my eyes, the lights, like the real lights, not their stupid little flashlights, go on, and things get real with light. You'll see in this video that I had a kind of a relay fritzing, maybe overheating, and so some of my big lights on the side kept flickering on and off, which wasn't my intent. I was just trying to illuminate the scene, but the lights were actually flashing in their eyes because the relay would heat up, because I need to separate one of the circuits out that has the fog lights on it. The relay would heat up, and all these perimeter lightings, like 100 watts of LED perimeter lighting, would overheat, turn off for a second, and then trigger back on because it's of the built-in breaker. So these lights kept just flashing, and you'll see this in the video. But what I was looking at is as I watched the failed United States. It doesn't exist anymore. There's no freedom. The U.S. is done. And that's what I've been saying for years. Like, get out while you can. The USA is Nazi Germany. You're not bringing the USA back. Now, someday after total collapse, can something good happen there? Sure. But the USA is not coming back. The USA is finished. Freedom is gone. And I've been saying this for a while, but look no further than this coronavirus, the biggest medical powered freedom grab in history, I think. It's like watching 9/11 all over again, but with a knowledge of what's happening. I was reading some of these comments, and a lot of really great comments. I appreciate the comments and your support. The problem is, it's a little frustrating for me because people get all excited when I go out and fight with cops, right? And it's not fun to go fight with cops. And the thing is, like, as soon as I'm like fighting with cops, they're like, oh, there's the Gavin I know. I'm like, no, the Gavin you know has been here all along. You just want to be entertained and you want me to go risk my life fighting with cops because you won't. And so I admit that sometimes the comments along those lines are a little bit frustrating because the message hasn't changed. The message has expanded and grown a little bit, but this has been the same message for years. But I was looking, like, here's a message from Jay, and it said, keep it up and you're going to see that great old Mexico cops and jails will lock you up and throw away the key. Stop with the activists. It isn't going to go the way you think. Well, activism's always risky, but I wanted to mention, like, people have this idea that Gavin goes out and does activism. I have activist day. Now, I know some of the auditors in the States do that, and they go out and they're like, we're going to go to the police stations and we're going to film. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a great way to get videos, but I've always been an organic activist. So occasionally I would set up events and things, but generally speaking, I actually don't like stopping and fighting with cops. It's dangerous, it's risky, it's stressful. It puts a burden on you. Even though I like the message, I like the conversation, it's not actually what I like to do. So even in the States and here, I'm not going out. I've never been going out on a regular basis looking. Almost all the videos you've ever seen me do as an activist. And I'm not saying you have to do this the same way. I'm just explaining how I do activism. I see something and I say something. There was this guy said about me, this guy is a paid disinformation actor, works for the CIA. Believe it or not, just think about it. Okay, so think about it. Am I a paid disinformation actor that works for the CIA? CIA sucks, by the way. Why? Because they suck. They're terrorists. But also, and this was my response to him, thanks for that. I'm thinking about it. But if it's true, I'd like to know where the heck my freaking check is. Where's my pay? Because I haven't been paid ever by my handlers. So if I have handlers and if I'm a CIA agent, please, where's my money? I guess you're all getting it. Maybe we're all CIA agents now because of Trump care. I think you're the most combative person I watch on YouTube. You always go looking for trouble. I've lived in Mexico far longer than you and haven't run into near as many cops, nor have I been bothered by the ones I've been around. That's living on a peso. The problem is living on a peso, you're not living on freedom. You're licking boots. And if you lick boots and do what you're told, your masters are going to be fine with you most of the time unless they want, to rob you because they want to rob you. I mean, they'll still do that, but as long as you let them rob you, let them ram it up where they want and do their thing, you won't have probably too much trouble, especially not in Mexico. In the US, cops are so psycho now that you could be chosen for prison. It's like predestination, but for terrorists, right? It's like, oh, you're just predestined for prison, so the police are going to take you away and make up a fake charge. Maybe that's the predestination that the churches that are worshiping the government are really talking about. So anyways, you can go look at this. It's on the community page, these comments. This is how people down there lose their heads. No, it's not. That's not a common thing down here. And standing up to police on the street and standing up for your rights is not where people usually get killed. It's almost always U.S. drug war related things. Does that mean it's not still dangerous? Do I worry that if I go stand up to the corruption in the community that somebody will try to pay to have me hurt? Sure, as an activist, this is always a risk. I've always looked at activism as it's a duty to stand up for what's right. I don't go out looking for activism. I see something and I say something. And that's what I do. I try to stand up. I try to teach my kids to love their neighbor, to love Jesus, to think free, to act loving and like Jesus to their neighbor by standing up. You don't act like Jesus. You don't love your neighbor by handing out tracts and telling them they need to come and join your faction and your club. You stand up, you do right, you help people. To me, that's what following Jesus is about. And I know all you don't believe the same way as me, that's fine. I'm just telling you that's how I do activism. That's how I think. I pray. I pray for protection because it's scary sometimes, especially in the USA it was. But if I'm standing up like I was last night to 10 cops on the road, I know that cops are much less aggressive here. I know I can stand up for my rights more here. But that doesn't mean there's no danger. These guys still get riled up and start pulling their gun out of their, getting handsy with their gun, trying to be macho men. And I'm like, hey, or my wife's like, hey, you'll hear in this video last night, knock it off, you thugs. Talk to thugs like they're thugs. But also, and this is what I told a friend, and I think this has been, well, there's been a faith aspect and a good messaging, right? Early on in my activism, and I want to say that other people have started doing this. I don't know if I'm the first one to do it, but I see it a lot now. Early on in my activism, though, I realized that if I didn't just talk to them, the early activists that I followed would just film the scene. Am I being detained? Am I being detained? And they would film the scene. And that was fine. It was educational. It was great. It taught me a lot. It got me thinking. But I realized if I turned the camera around like I'm doing right now, and when I got more confident, I would turn it around right in front of them and start talking about the thug I was dealing with right there in front of their face. I would make them wait while I talked to you guys. And that changed the message because it allowed me to do a narrative. A lot of these videos are just an isolated slice and people say, oh, we don't know the context. We don't know what happened. So I said, screw that. First of all, you're lying. We can all see what happened. But let's take away all objections. I learned to know what the objections would be. And so I address objections in each video. At the end, at the beginning. Sometimes I do it in all one video, in one take, as I was arguing with them. Sometimes I would come back and just make a little clip to explain, hey, here's the context of what was going on, here's what we did, let's watch. And a closer, right? Thoughts, reminders, just to try and keep people thinking. So, what then? What's next? How do you not get screwed over? It's not always easy as an activist. Activists get arrested. Activists get messed with. Brendan, who's a channel backer, and thank you, Brendan. Thank you to all our channel backers. You can back the channel right here. Brendan says he admires my fighting spirit, but worries that I'm going too far as a guest. And at the same time, he knows how I feel. But what I said to Brandon, after thanking him for being a channel backer, back the channel below, is I'm not a guest, guys. I am a permanent resident and a recognized refugee in Mexico. And while I appreciate the hospitality, I'm no longer a guest, I'm no longer a visitor. But even before I still stood up, I was making videos from the first day I got here. And lately, I've seen more BS around my community. Not hardcore police shooting people, nothing like that. They go to jail for that. But just more like checkpoints and petty harassment a little more. And so you're seeing more videos lately because I've been seeing the government push a little more. And so I've been standing up more. Do I feel a little more comfortable now that I'm a permanent resident, now that I'm recognized, now that they can't say, oh no, you're just a guest here and you can't be involved in politics, even though human rights aren't actually politics. But yeah, I feel a little more stable here now, which is nice, and I thank God for that. But at the same time, I stood up to them before. There's a few more videos lately because I'm just seeing more stuff. I don't go out looking for it. I just see stuff, and so I say stuff. Knowledge Freedom said, careful, don't get yourself killed. Cartel are cops too. Well, cops are cartel. So I think it's the backwards. People are always saying, Gavin, in Mexico, cops are members of the cartel. I'm like, guys, cops all over the world are always the cartel. In the USA, the #1 most violent cartel terrorist organization and criminal organization is the police, Blue ISIS. The cops are always the cartel. And so you always have to be careful and watch out for that. But I think it's interesting. Gavin for president of Mexico. I'm not a natural born citizen, so my understanding is I can't actually be president of Mexico. And honestly, I don't think, there's still like, Mexicans are very friendly, but I still get a lot, and the most uneducated Mexicans are the ones that are educated, honestly. And this rings true in the US. I'm not saying this is just a American thing, but the ones that went to university, learned English, watch our movies, watch our news, they're the most ignorant bootlicking. You see them on Facebook saying, oh, obey the government's great. And everybody down here knows that as a brain, the government is not great, they're totally incompetent, and it's a much more common theme to resist the government here than it is in the USA, right? Now, I haven't visited Michoacan yet, but look at places like Michoacan. They're always being badass. Michoacenses are always badass. Look at the people in Chihuahua. The rest of the world's talking about coronavirus, and in Chihuahua, the corrupt water administrators are trying to sell off their water rights, and they send in the National Guard and the federal police to keep people in line. The people literally ran the police out of town, ran the military out of town, took the government trucks and threw them in the canal, and then they took what was left of the government trucks, drug them to the railroad tracks, and lit them on fire. That was just a protest. That was just them standing up for themselves. No one was seriously injured that I know of. So while the rest of the world is licking boots over coronavirus, the badasseries in Chihuahua, woof, woof, were kicking ass. But as far as I can tell, they did it pretty peacefully. Some trucks died. Yeah, there's videos of this online, and maybe I'll do a video about it. I was thinking the other day about doing a video about this, but it's crazy. It's crazy, and it's crazy what we tolerate. So, what do you do? As an activist, for me, I don't try looking for stuff all the time. I'm observant, I watch all the time, but I don't go out. I don't want to go out on a Saturday afternoon and do activism with my family. And people say, well, Gavin, you're endangering your family. Protect your family by doing what you're told. I'm like, what are you talking about? When I stand up to thugs on the street, I am protecting my children. And if you're just lying down and licking boots to these terrorist thugs, you're not protecting your family. And that's the problem. Protect your family. Protect your community. People are like, oh, just do what you're told. Just respect these people. They have experience. They have medical experience. They know. No, they don't. These are crooked politicians that are literally paying doctors to come stand up beside them and say what they want. These aren't experienced. These aren't the voices of experts and reason that are making these rules. Does anyone not notice? The government gets together, 40, 50 people at a time, to sign edicts and have press releases about their edicts that you can't gather in groups of 40 or 50, and they're all standing shoulder to shoulder like this, signing, shaking hands, and laughing as they write out these documents to tell you that you can't gather and that you have to stay in your home. Are we out of our freaking minds? Is it this hard to see that you're being scammed? I know a lot of you on here see it. But it blows my mind that our society, and I see it some down here, but not near as much because people are far more practical down here. But yeah, among the more educated, the university-driven people, the people that are job holders, that work for government, the people that think they want to be like the USA, the most ignorant. Doesn't matter what country you go to. Universities. Well, the concept of university education, becoming a doctor, things like that, there's certainly good things you can learn. But universities, it's like they're designed to turn people into idiots. And that's a sad testament to our society. Tyrant XI says this creator is insane. And I say, well, what's insane about standing up for your family, about standing up for your community? I'm the most combative person on YouTube. Who's really combative is the bootlickers. Who's really wants to create a war and who wants to violate others is those who want their friends that give them freebies to use force and violence to control the rest of the world. They're the combative ones. They're the mentally ill ones. They're the criminal sympathizers. And their friends that they pay and cheer and support to violate the world are the terrorists of the world. So it's crazy. When I do activism, I do want to give one tip for activism. I've done a lot of videos about my activism, but how I do activism is I roll up As soon as I see something that seems shady, the camera goes on. And if nothing happens, you never see that video because the camera just goes off, right? Sometimes I roll up and I'm like, oh, it's a checkpoint, or there's DUI checkpoint or something like that. And then I roll up and it's just a fender bender and there's a cop there, right? And I just turn the camera on and I keep moving. The poster image on this video, I was down on the lake and there's a dam there. It's a federal dam. And so they have these kind of dorky guards there with their guns. And I'm like, what are you protecting? No one wants to blow up your dam. Like, get real. But they had guards along the area around the dam. The pressa is what they call it. Pressa. And so and in the area, there's these towns at each end along the lake, but there's this one area where the actual dam infrastructure is, and there's signs that say you can't stop in this area for the next 4.5 kilometers. And there's tunnels going through the mountain, and there's kind of these little stations where they're monitoring things. And so I'm driving out, I'm leaving, we were out with some friends, had a nice visit on the lake. And the first thing I did, I saw a sign that said, you can't stop. And I'm like, oh, that's not cool. And so I stopped. Immediately, I stopped in the road. There's a little guard station with a guard sitting right up there. I saw a sign that says, you can't stop for the next 4.5 kilometers. Now, there's no traffic or anything like that here. It wasn't that busy. I immediately stopped my giant ass truth van in the middle of the road and put it in park. Stop. Just because I don't tolerate, and people say, oh, Gavin, you're so rebellious. No, a government does not get to tell the people when they can stop. We tell them when to stop. Just like when in the video last night that you'll see probably later this week, stay tuned for it. These cops were all like, you need to leave, you need to leave. And I said, no, you need to leave. You work for us. This is my road. And they said, no, this isn't your road. I said, yes, it is. It's mi calle. And so I stopped for just a second and then I moved on. I didn't want to stop in the road for that long. I just wanted to let them know that their sign sucked and I was going to ignore it if I felt like it. Because that's my right. Government doesn't get to tell me I don't get to stop my vehicle. And as I drove by the guard station, he waved and I waved and there was no problem. There was no fight because I did a minor test, right? I'm not out looking for activism. I just pushed my rights a little bit, and I do that a lot. And people say, you're creating these situations. No, I'm exercising my right to not be a slave and to try and resist that. Then I go down the road a little more. And if you look on the poster video that you saw in this video, there's these guards. There's a couple of military-looking guys. And I don't like seeing military on the streets. It's shady. I don't like seeing National Guard on the streets anywhere. Military don't belong on the streets. Not a sign of safety. And there's some guards that are with the power plant, right? And they're kind of all standing there, and they got their guns, and they're all like macho. And I'm like, yeah, well, check out my chains. And I just stopped in the road, like right on the dam. And they're sitting there. And I just stopped. And I'll choose my mode. Sometimes I'm activist mode. Sometimes you're in dumb tourist mode. Sometimes you're in friend mode. Pick it. Like, don't operate on anger and like just trying to create an incident. I don't really want it to turn into a fight. I want to prove that it doesn't always have to be a fight. So I roll up and I take my phone. I stop in the middle of the road, look at the guards and say, hey, and I take a photo of them. And you can see that one of them is actually waving at me, right? And I'm like, hey, what are you guys? Are you like military or what's going on? And we talked just a little bit, didn't really understand them, but they didn't approach me. They didn't tell me, go. They didn't tell me you can't do that. You can't take photos. They passed the test. And so I just kept moving. And it was a test. Did I want to fight with them? Absolutely not. It sucks always fighting with people, which is why I don't always fight with people. But I will stand up for me. And what's really happening, people say, Gavin, you're always going to pick fights. No, the people are picking fights with me because I'm not a ballless mutant that licks boots and does whatever he's told. I exercise my liberties. I know the law, I teach the law, and I try to stand up for the law and love my neighbor and not let us just be enslaved every single day. So I stop and I take a photo of the guards, right? I'll stop. There's a video on this channel I did a while back where I stop and I walk up to these military guys near their military base. And I have a camera on, and one of the guys runs over at me and says, you can't take photos. And he kind of touches me like he's pushing my arm back. And I said, get your hands off me. I can take photos. See, they failed. So then it became a video that I engaged. I argued in really crappy Spanish, especially then. And I kept filming. I didn't stop. If you're a cop and you say, Gavin, leave, you can expect me to say no, because that's what everyone should be doing. If your government tells you stay in your house, They're scamming you. Don't stay in your house. If your government says don't go fishing, don't go outside, everyone should be violating it. Not even because if the government says you can't go outside, everyone should go outside even if they don't want to go outside. Because it's more important to resist the absolute tyranny of the government than to stay in and play your video games. So go outside. It's good for you anyhow. It's a good way to avoid viruses. You know the government's scamming you when they're saying don't go jogging in the woods and don't go fishing because we want you to stay safe from a virus. You don't get a virus by fishing, guys. It's a scam. This whole stay-at-home thing, this whole don't go out, this whole social distancing. If you're vulnerable, if you're sickly, if you want to be careful, fine, stay home, right? Isolate yourself if you think you're in a vulnerable case. For most people, corona is just the flu. Act accordingly. Use your own brain. Stop following someone else's. But there's something else about doing activism. I'm going long. I want to quit. I'm tired. I want to go. But I'm going to end this. For those of you that held out to the end, I was talking to a friend that recently escaped the USA and bailed. And you know, we were talking about how he gets angry, and a lot of activists, they get angry and they fight, and sometimes it makes their narrative not as good. Maybe they lose control of their mouth. Maybe they're afraid they're going to punch somebody, so they don't do it. And I said, activism, you need to realize, and I was thinking about this more recently because I've been studying some stuff on the business side and kind of comparing it to what we do. Activism is a negotiation. Just like a business negotiation. You're seeing who will give and who can take, right? You're trying to push a narrative or educate someone, or you're trying to exercise your freedom. And at the same time, you know that the guy on the other side is trying to push back. He's trying to violate your freedoms, or he's trying to make you do something or pay something or do this or that. Activism is a negotiation. And if you negotiate from a position of anger, you can be angry at something. I see cops abusing people and I get angry. But if you operate from a position of anger, not only do you lose your principle, that's what happens with a lynch mob, right? They're angry about something, they're idiots, they're ignorant, they don't know the facts, they get fired up, pretty soon they're stringing somebody up. Not justice, ever. Don't care what side it is. People are like, oh, that's what I want to do to government. I don't. You try to lynch the government, I will be there stopping you from violating them. Because that's principle, that's liberty. Doesn't mean I support them, doesn't mean I don't want justice for them, doesn't mean I don't want them removed from their throne, but I won't participate in the atrocities of the French Revolution. So when you're doing activism, you have to set aside your ego. And by doing that, the truth is, like, everybody likes to make a video. Everybody likes to, like, oh, you did good, you handled that well. Everybody likes to get likes on YouTube or Facebook or say, wow, that was really intelligent, right? I mean, let's not pretend. That's not why I started doing activism, was to get YouTube views, but we all like doing something, creating something that's impressive to people. And at the same time, we get just as many haters, and then we got to deal with that burden. So, Terry says, I bet you are single. He laughed. Oh, and no, coronavirus is not even close to 20 times deadlier than the flu. These are just made up numbers that they're creating. They're isolating the numbers and the facts to spin their own stuff because they don't want you to be in reality. They don't want you to understand that the coronavirus isn't even approaching the damage that the flu has done this year. 10 times as many deaths from the regular seasonal flu this year, at least, than coronavirus. But you're in a negotiation, right? In a negotiation, sometimes you fall back, right, to your BATNA, your lowest reserve, right? This is where you have to be. I have to stand up on this. I have to not cave on this, right? But they have their thing that they're not willing to cave on too. And so when you're doing activism, especially with a camera on the street, maybe you're arguing with someone, you can't just make it about your ego, because if it's about your ego, it'll just look that way. But if you make it a real conversation, if you control it, you make it not about your anger. It doesn't matter if you are angry. your basis for your actions and your words can't be driven by that anger. They have to be driven by truth and justice. And in the end, in doing that, you'll get a way better message. You'll get a principled message. You'll even get a better ego boost because people will recognize that that message is more relevant. Sure, there'll be haters, but it's the principle that really matters. So if you think of activism as, I have a message. What is my message? What am I selling? I'm negotiating with people. Sure, I'm negotiating with the person I'm arguing with, but I'm also negotiating with you guys. When we talk, we're negotiating. I'm trying to sell my idea to you in a way that's logical. I'm trying to express what I want. Freedom, liberty, justice, in a way that's repeatable, palatable, spreadable. And I'm trying to make you on the same page with me so that you also think, hey, I want justice. I don't just want a lynch mob for the government people I hate. I want real justice. I want to love my neighbor, right? I'm in a negotiation with you every time I make a video. Not a secret. I'm in a negotiation with the police officer when I argue with him. I'm trying to make a point. I'm trying to educate him. But most of all, I'm trying to assert that I have the ability to stand up for what I'm standing up for, and he has to tolerate that. And there's lines that we both maybe refuse to cross, right? There's negotiations that go into this. But ultimately, not to overcomplicate it, if you can keep your anger, if you can care for people, remember that they're still human, even if you're hollering at them. If you can remember that if you're the greatest aggressor, the people that are ignorant will see you as the bad guy. If you're seeing, not if you are the greatest aggressor, right? Think about that. If they see you as more aggressive than the fool who's trying to violate everyone's rights at the point of a gun, but does it with a pretty uniform or a badge or some nice political words or citing some article or some law that supposedly gives him magic powers, even though he's a total thug, he may seem less aggressive than you. And even if you're right, you may have just lost your narrative. And as such, your negotiation. Some people you will never win over. Some people you can't reason with. But I've been negotiating with you guys on this channel for years and years and years. And some of you have become trolls. Some of you hate me. Some of you unsubscribe. Some of you have thought about what I said. Some of you already agreed with me. And we just worked together to refine the message. Some of you didn't agree with me, but in time agreed more and more and more. Even activists I work with, like Kelly Stewart, have had things that we disagreed with. And in time, we talked about it, we debated it, we negotiated it, and realized where we needed to be, what the principle was, what the freedom was. Keep your ego out of your activism. Save your ego for when you're at home and people are liking it and commenting it. Get your ego from that. Get your ego from your lady. And she's like, oh, wow, you were so tough with those cops, honey. You want some? Save your ego for when the activism is done. And 99% of the time is pretty good. I'm going to wrap up, guys. It's late. You know the rule. If the super chats aren't coming in, the stream doesn't keep going. If the super chats are coming in, the stream does keep going. And I've already gone longer than I really expected to anyhow. These shows are supposed to be a half hour, and they always end up pushing more like an hour long. But yeah, I did see a lot of people with Corona down here this weekend, out by the lake and stuff. Big, like liter size, like the Micheladas with the Corona beer just everywhere. So that was a thing this weekend, a lot of that going on. But I didn't see anybody dying from it. So, you know, just try to keep your mind about you, avoid drunkenness. It's ideal, and it's a good principle to follow. But yeah, enjoy your Corona, enjoy your chains. Hope you guys can get the upgraded stimulus package chains if you're getting some. But as for me, I'm taking my chains off. I'll use these to hang a lamp or something because I don't want your chains. That's what I'm saying. Midnight Rider sends 2 tacos. I thank you, and I will talk for 2 taco minutes more. How long is a taco minute Honestly, it's however long I say. Just going to look over as we wrap up. I'm watching the chat over here, seeing if there's any important questions that I missed or just shout outs of important issues or things that I want to throw out. And yes, H1N1 killed far more people than coronavirus has even come close to. And even then, I remember that happening. It was a big deal. It killed a lot of people. So does the regular flu, by the way. Reminder of that all the time. You look at the data. All you gotta do is actually use math, right, and use facts, and you realize that the coronavirus is being used to scam us. But people don't want facts. They actually enjoy the fear. I think they get a rush out of it or something, and they actually like licking the boots. So the Dos Equis virus, I actually like Dos Equis better than Corona for sure. But Barrelitos, I drink just to relax. Like I've never been smashed in my life, honestly. I've never been high in my life, as far as I know. Never had a marijuana. I'm an herbalist, and I've never had marijuana. How about that? Because I like facts. I like my brain working. I like studying things. I like doing things for a reason, and things kind of being organized, not like just tipsy-topsy and a mess. Negro Modelo is okay. Yeah, that's pretty good beer. I do miss some of the artisanal beers, the microbreweries that we have in the States. Honestly, they're cheaper there because down here they do this artisanal thing and they're like, oh, it's super valuable because it's artisanal. It won't stay that way. There will get to be more of them and the price will come down and competition will ensue just like it did in the States. So beer off the shelf is way cheaper here, but artisanal beer you can actually pay quite a bit more for. I've seen artisanal beers for sale in like Walmart, and one bottle of beer was like $8, right? So they're kind of into that, these fancy beers and stuff. But honestly, their artisanal beers are a little lackluster most of the time. Some of them are good, but they don't have their beer and wine quite as sorted out as we do up in the north down here. But they're working on it. So I support them and buy one anyhow. Let's see. Yeah, I think a good microbrewery. I'm sure when you get into alcohol, there are some regulations and junk that you'd have to deal with. But I would love to see a microbrewery for the people. These microbreweries, they're almost like trying to be tourist places. Like, oh, look, we're a microbrewery. We can charge $4 for a beer. And you go to Colorado and you get a beer for, I don't know, what's a microbrewery? I feel like if you go to Colorado or California or somewhere and you go to a microbrewery, you get a good beer and it's like $2, right? It's not that expensive. It's not really more by a large margin than a regular old shelf beer. A little more, but not a lot, like a Mirapon Pale Ale or something like that. Sure, it's a little more, but not a lot more. I don't know. Mr. Big Money, I appreciate it. Except for the fact that I told you if you're donating, I will keep talking, and I'm kind of tired, honestly. So I do appreciate it. But we'll go for a couple more minutes. I'm just going to see if people have any questions or anything. Yes, studying herbs. I did a video on dealing with coronavirus with herbs. It's completely treatable, COVID-19 that is. There's about 12 or 18 variants of the coronavirus. This is just one variant that they're promoting this year that I guess is new, yes, but it's still a variant of corona, which is a variant of SARS. And all these things are intertied. Like they're pretending like this is something new and it's doing horrible things to people's bodies. No, it's doing what the other viruses do. It's doing what the flu does. It's the same kind of thing, and you treat it in a very similar way. Let's see. Do I have a Mexican bank account? I don't know if I should say. What if people know? What if people know, like, all the pesos that I grift, right? They're always saying I'm grifting for all this money. Can't you guys tell? I've made $11 here tonight. I've spent an hour, and I've made $11. That's not even like... I think Mexicans make more than that working in the field, No, the field doesn't pay that good. Working down here doesn't pay that good. If you want to come down here, start a business, a great I'd love to see some great microbreweries. People coming down, not coming down as U.S. companies. Hi, Hattie. Careful, I'll flip that camera around. Not coming down as U.S. companies trying to take advantage of cheap labor, but coming down to live here, to build industry, to create good jobs, to respect people and make quality products. That's what I want to see more of. And the U.S. dollar might just be collapsing. I mean, when you dump $7 trillion into it, who knows what'll happen. But the USA is like Rome, right? It takes longer to fall when you're the empire because you have more people that you can steal resources from. Thank you, Kratos. Yeah, she's a looker. And she's good and very supportive, whose wife will flee the country with them, right? So, yeah. She's great. Let's see. Guess he isn't gay. No, definitely not. Oh, people. There's so many rumors that people make up about me. I don't understand, like, why. Like, I'm a pretty conservative guy, and I'm like, look, why does everything have to be all whacked out? Do what you want, right? Live your life, but I'll still have my opinions. I may not agree with you, but I won't try and force it on you. But why is it that to be joyful, to be chipper, dapper, we always have to be in like some camp and some label? It's a little strange. So, okay. No worries, Terry. Okay, so let's see. What's weird, people like, why do people think that the person that stands up for themselves must be single? Because nothing could be further from the truth. Women love a man that has a pair of balls. I'm just gonna say that, guys. Like, I know like in the US, the feminism has gone way too far. Obviously, I agree with women standing up for their rights, right? Having a brain, thinking for themselves, all this kind of stuff. But, thanks, Doug, she is. There's lots of photos that I take from the travels, and I post photos of my wife on my Instagram at Gavin Syme. So you guys can follow my Instagram. We got 164 people. Let's see if we can get 100 of you over to my Instagram tonight to follow my Instagram /GavinSeim, because try to keep these different channels going in case one of them is shut down or censored, because my YouTube views have been getting pushed down lately. So, yeah, men, newsflash. All this feminist, like over the top, like wacky stuff. And then like the women are so feminism and they hate men, and then they go do BDSM because they actually want to have like some dominance. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why don't you just have a real man and get a balanced relationship in the first place? Like, do what you want, right? It's your life. But maybe like you should be a real woman and he should be a real man, and you should balance that out. Maybe you should get a guy that has a pair, right? That'll stand up for something. I get so sick of guys when men are like, why don't you just do what you're told and stop endangering your family? I'm like, wow, who neutered you, bro? Dang. I mean, it's bad enough like when the women, right? Because the men aren't men, so the women look to their government because they want to be kept, they want to feel safe, right? They look to government for safety. All the feminists look to their government to keep them safe. But why is it really? Then their men are like, why don't you just do what you're told, bro? Like, you're just endangering, and you're like endangering the cops, and they like help us and stuff. And I'm like, no wonder. No wonder your woman, her lover is the government. Because you don't have a set, and you can't get the job done. I mean, who wants to be protected by a guy that's like, police will keep us safe? Wow. I just don't get it. Like, it's time to start calling these people out. Like, everybody's always afraid to comment, oh, I'll get shamed on Facebook. You know what? It's time to start doing the shaming. You can do it with a little bit of, a little bit of love for your neighbor, but it's okay to tell them the truth. My goodness. Who neutered you, bro? Should that be a shirt? Should I make a shirt? Who neutered you, bro? We can work on that. I do my shirts, the Resist Blue ISIS shirts. Another shirt that I designed. I do them now and then when I have good ideas, because I do a lot of graphic design and photography and stuff. What's the other one? Keep your cops. I'd rather call a crackhead. That's one of my shirts. But I can work on a Who Neutered You Bro shirt. It's all about the graphics. Like, you need a good saying, sure, but then it needs to be presented well. So shirts are actually a pain in the ass to design. A lot of people, they come up with a saying, they do no design, they just put some letters on a shirt. And it's like, well, it takes a little more than that, bro. But yeah, it's crazy. Okay, I think I've fulfilled the 10 minutes from the last super chat. So I'm gonna wind it up for the night. I'm gonna go have maybe a Barrelitos, just a casual beer, maybe play a little Call of Duty. You can find me on Real Syme. I've been playing Black Ops 4 Blackout lately. Real Syme on Call of Duty. So if you want to friend me up, if you play that, hit me up over there. It's cool. We'll go do whatever we do on there. So yeah. What else? You guys are funny. Okay, well, I'll see what I can do on the shirt if people want a new shirt. I haven't done a new shirt in a while. The Blue ISIS shirt, yeah, I mean, it's on my shirt store, which is listed in almost every video, honestly. Resist Blue ISIS. If you Google it, let me try Google, see if I can Google myself. Yeah, here it is. It's on Redbubble. Resist Blue ISIS t-shirt. And I believe it's redbubble.com / maybe Gavin Sign? Does that work? No, it doesn't work on their site that way. / hold on. Not by Gavin Sign. Here we go, right here. Here's my Redbubble store. There's a crackhead, the Resist Blue ISIS shirt. I'll put it in the chat here for you guys. But yeah, I can work on maybe some new merch. I try to do a new merch like every year. I don't make much money on them, but I try to keep my fingers in different fires, right? So let's see. Yes, Mexico is America. Es muy bien. Más libertad de México. No todo. Hay problemas, sí. Pero, mira. La gente tiene más fiel a la libertad. ¿No suficiente? No que es suficiente, pero hay más libertad, hay más valor en la gente, hay más cabezas. Okay, we'll work on some shirts. Yes, there's Walmarts, there's Costco's, there's AutoZone, most of the things. And it's kind of convenient, but at the same time, I want to see more of people coming down, not bringing their US companies to Mexico, but coming to Mexico and making companies in Mexico, with Mexico, for Mexico. You know, we have Home Depot here and things like that. And it's convenient because it's organized, right? It's a little more European style store. It's sometimes easier to get things than just the little tiendas. But whenever I can, I like to support the little local shops because there's way more of those down here. And I don't want to see them go away, but at the same time, they're going to have to keep up, right? They got to keep up. They got to raise the bar, and we keep trying. Okay, so I've had enough. This has been the Gavin Syme Show. You guys are already fading out. I can tell you're getting tired. Más libertad, sí. Esta es la cosa. Más libertad, más justo. Menos pendejos públicos. We will keep on doing the shows. I got a new video of these cops. I was arguing with like 10 cops last night. So if you want to contribute to the subtitles, send me an email, gavinforliberty@gmail.com. And if your Spanish is good and you have, you want to pitch in a little bit and contribute some the English subtitles that have some of the Spanish in them and need those translations, I'm always looking for support, but also Jason, my friend in Colombia, does a lot of those too. It's just sometimes he can't get to them right away. He pretty much does all my Spanish captions, but sometimes I wish that I had somebody who would just jump right in that was an English speaker and just throw in those English, because most of those ones are English on that side. But at the same time, I like giving Jason work too, because I send him some money to do that for me. So, buenas noches, todos. Mi gente, good to see you. Keep standing, resist Blue ISIS. Try to keep your chains at bay. Know when to get out, love your neighbor, and stand. What started all of this? I mean, that's a long story. We don't have time to go into that tonight, but there's plenty of videos on here. You can go back to my first video when I started doing activism. So what started all of this was growing a set and not being willing to act like a slave anymore. Anyways, I appreciate it. You bilingual, shout out to all of you. Shout out to all you in the live stream. Appreciate you being here live. And I'm going to go for now, but we'll talk soon and see what comes next. Peace.